With me is Carlos Gonzalez, and he is a counselor over at Fresno City College. Carlos, Christopher Columbus has a lot of myths. What is one of the biggest myths?
One of the biggest myths is that he was a good man. He was not. If we look at the mental condition that existed in the people, the common person in Spain at that era, you find that you had the people that were the ruling class, you had the people of the haves, and then you had the people that were being ruled upon, and people that were being exiled. So there was a mental condition there. There was a sickness, a psychological stress upon Columbus and the people that don't want to claim him. And when he came over here deliberately. I mean, these were people that were learned people, that were Christian people, that understood some concept of good and evil. And when they got here within 2 or 3 days, the man was ready to enslave people. So that tells me the psychological condition of the man. You know, as a therapist, as a private licensed therapist, the mental sickness that existed in the common European at that time was not very nice. It was okay to own a human being in the common mental condition of Europe. Columbus was a liar. On record, he indicated that he was the one that spotted land. It was one of his sailors that spotted land. But he took the credit because he wanted the economic benefit from that. You know, to me, Columbus was a forerunner for the Godfather or the Mafia, because the kind of things that he did to the Indian people, to the Taino people that he encountered, were the basis that later we see in history as concentration camps. In America, we call them reservations. In Mexico, they call them rancherias. In Europe, they call them the death camps. These are the kinds of things that Columbus brought to America. On the top of that, how can you say that this man was good when he was a forerunner for branding people? Any Taino that couldn't produce gold for him, they cut the hand off. That was a psychological maneuver to convince Indians that they better go out and look for gold, because if they don't, they're going to lose a hand. And that was a forerunner of branding, which later occurred to my ancestors in Mexico, when the Hispanics were branding our people.
You know, earlier, earlier we were talking about some of the statements that you're just now making, the cutting off of the feet. Earlier we mentioned the fact that some documentaries are now coming out with some of these facts of what he was doing. Why all of a sudden, I know the quincentennial's coming up, but why all of a sudden, after 500 years, are they now starting to talk about it?
Well, you know, it was written in our prophecies. And, you know, all of us Indians were related. The people of this land, you know, they're my cousins. The people up north where I live, they're my cousins. The people on the west are my cousins. The Uno people in the island of Japan, they're my cousins. And it was written that for 500 years we would suffer under these people. And believe me, our people knew who they were. They did not think of them as gods, as European men. Right? That's wishful thinking on the part of the European, that Indians saw them as gods. They were not gods. Our people had a name for them called Shibol, and it's not a very nice, the meaning behind that is not very nice in our language. But, you know, to get to your question, up to that time, Indians were not educated. For example, those of us that are Indians from Mexico, it's only been as recently as 1920 that we were allowed to step into the school system. In Mexico, our people are still not educated. In America, you can say that, you know, I was born in 36. When I started school, I was still going to segregated schools in the 40s. And it's only been recently that our people are going and doing studying, and they're beginning to do the research. So we're coming out and confronting these nice Christian people and saying, hey, look, you said Columbus was nice. You said that he liked people. And all of a sudden, from 1492, within 20, 30 years, our population decreases in the millions. You know, we condemn Hitler for killing his own people in Germany.